And the Sixers have officially fallen down 0-2 at the hands of the New York Knicks. I'm here with my guy Chris Gallagher from Knicks Digest here. And Chris, I just want to open up just saying you're welcome for handing you guys 2 wins in this series.
Thank you so much. I mean, maybe if you guys had role players who want to play a little bit better, maybe if you didn't want to pay Tobias Harris all the money in the world for him to put up 10 points a game on 11 shots, you guys could have a win by now. But here we are.
Yeah.
2-0 New York Knicks.
Yeah, here we are, and unfortunately, it has been Sixers and 6 from the start, and I do not think that's changing. That this is very distorted being down 2-0 here. These are coin flip games, and frankly, it needed Adam Silver making that Buffalo Wild Wings phone call to even have a chance for the Knicks to come up at the end there. That melee at the end, you guys playing jail rules basketball, that's just not happening in any more of these games, and once again, I do have Sixers and 6 here.
Well, look, the New York Knicks play a certain style that was absolutely epitomized in a tweet when basically the thought is when you go and play the Knicks, they're going to beat you with metal bats. You're not going for 130, 120 on the New York Knicks. We're keeping you to the low hundreds or into double-digit points. You have to work on this group. And yeah, we're a violent team, and it has been nothing but a wild success story for the New York Knicks, finishing as a second seed. And now here we are up 2-0 as we should be. We took care of business on the home floor. And now we go into Philly, probably taking one, if not 2 games there, getting this series done, 4 or 5 games at most. We don't need any more extra basketball. We're coming in there to finish this thing off.
So I entered this series with a great deal of respect for this Knicks team. That I was pretty open that I thought the Sixers and Knicks were the second and third best teams in the Eastern Conference, and I still feel that way. That I'm disappointed that that's how the bracket shook out, that this was a first-round matchup. I think these are 2 heavyweights that unfortunately had to touch gloves right off the rip. But my respect for this Knicks team has significantly decreased after these first 2 games. This is not real basketball. This is scrappy. It's Tom Thibodeau incarnated in a team. You can see it on full display. And by the way, I am a Thibs guy, that I've liked him since his time in Chicago. That was always kind of my second favorite team growing up. I was a big D-Rose guy. So I do like him kind of having this influence on this team. But the bottom line, like, it's incredibly frustrating to me that I think this Sixers team is just straight up better than this Knicks team, and you guys have just managed to squeeze your way into 2 wins. There's no chance that you're taking both in Philadelphia. I think, to be honest, on Thursday, this turns into a rout that I do think the Sixers blow them out on Thursday because it just needs to happen, that it feels like one of those where so much has gone wrong for this team, that Tobias Harris has been awful, Kelly Oubre has not got going offensively, Buddy Hield has looked like he's forgotten how to play basketball. Doesn't make any sense how bad some of these guys have been, that I just don't expect some of those breaks to go this way. And Josh Hart is going to figure out that he's not Klay Thompson at a point in time, and I expect that all to go down. So this, I think, is a wake-up call on Thursday, that things go down, and then all of a sudden it's a series from there.
All right, I'm going to say something that I know 76ers fans are not going to like. Knicks fans might also get mad at me. I don't know if anyone is going to be happy with me on this, but I have for the last few years rooted for the 76ers for the most part when the New York Knicks have been eliminated. Long story short, I just use them in NBA 2K where I do like to say I'm pretty good. And that's my NBA 2K play now online team. So I have some love for Philly, but more than anything, I knew this roster going into the playoffs. I completely agree with you. This is the second and third best team in the Eastern Conference. These are the 2 teams that, in my opinion, to this moment, have the best chance at knocking off the Boston Celtics. I think Philly's great. I think the Knicks, they're obviously hindered not having our all-star, all-NBA power forward in Julius Randle. To all those 76ers fans being like, well, Embiid's hurt. I know. I get it. I can see it. I see the way he's moving. I'm aware Joel Embiid is not at full strength. I know that. But to all the fans out there saying that, Julius isn't even on the court. So we have injury problems too. I just don't see a world where you guys can hold on to this series. You got to beat us now 4 out of 5 games.
Yep.
And no, the Knicks went to Philly, won by 30, 40 points, truly came in there and did their thing so well. I think the Knicks have Philly's number at this point. Once we went up 2-0, and obviously, like most people, I figured it was going to be 1-1 in the final 30 seconds of that game. I was nervous. I probably would have started to believe that the Knicks were in some real trouble. going up 2-0 at home, taking all the momentum in the final 30 seconds. I'm pretty interested to see how Philly can try to bounce back. Like, you got one game of Joel Embiid giving 50 to the Knicks, and I don't know how much more he's going to be able to give at that point.
Yeah, so you hit on a couple things there. For starters, this Knicks team is everything that the Sixers team is not, and I mean that they are the hard-nosed, they grit things out, and that's just not how the Sixers team wins, which is frustrating to a lot of people, myself included. You also touched on the injury stuff, that I will not take that because there's a significant portion of the Knicks fan base that would argue the team is straight up better without Julius Randle. That black hole of an offensive weapon just chucking up just contested mid-rangers, he's closer to Tobias Harris than he is Joel Embiid, if we're making that type of comparison there. And another huge critique with Joel Embiid that I heard going this series, all I heard from Knicks fans and all I hear all year is about the whistle. Jaylen Brunson is Trae Young with a better PR team, man. Some of those jumping back into Kelly Oubre yesterday, I will not hear anything for a whistle slanted towards Philadelphia based on how the events went down with Jaylen Brunson throughout the game and how the game was concluded last night.
Yeah, so we should jump into the game's conclusion at one point, though. I'll agree with you. Brunson hunts fouls. I'm not going to act like he doesn't. It works. The same way Joel Embiid hunts fouls. Do I find it to always be the most exciting version of basketball? No. But both of them are manipulating the NBA's rules in their favor. And I think in cases like that, you got to give them the respect of, they're playing by the rules of basketball.
Fair.
It's working out. But closer to Tobias Harris?
Yeah, Julius Randle.
What? One all-NBA team off from each other. But Randle's closer to Tobias Harris.
Then Joel Embiid?
Last time I checked, Tobias Harris has never been anywhere near 25 and 10 for a season with 5 assists, making all-star games, making all-NBA teams. That sounds a lot like someone I know in Joel Embiid. Now, obviously, Embiid's a lot better. Embiid, for my money, is the second best player in the NBA to Jokic, and I think there is a great debate that you could say Embiid is first. Not one I would make, but you could do it. And I'm putting Randle somewhere in the top 20 NBA players.
Ooh.
Yeah, I am, because he was an all-star this year.
So is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey's better than him.
Tyrese Maxey's had a great series. I won't lie. He's had a great series. He's been great. But Joel Embiid and Julius Randle are far closer than Julius Randle and Tobias Harris. Now, Julius, speaking of PR teams, has the worst PR team. That's because Knicks fans don't like him. Julius's first season with the Knicks, he was brutal. No one's debating that Julius Randle didn't have a rough first season and a rough third season with the New York Knicks. Outside of that, he's brought the Knicks back to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. He's made 2 All-NBA teams and 3 All-Star teams. Now, if Tobias Harris makes 1 All-Star team, I will probably be so shocked I'll faint.
Yeah, I don't see him making an all-star game, but he has averaged 20 before on the empty calorie statistics in a similar way to what I would consider Julius Randle's game there.
Empty?
And we mentioned the role players. We mentioned how great all these guys are. Let's talk stars. Joel Embiid is a superstar. He's clearly not healthy, but he's still the best player on this floor by a comfortable margin. If we're having the debate beyond that, Jaylen Brunson's closer to Tyrese Maxey than he is Joel Embiid. That Jaylen Brunson's very good, but he's not to the level of what a true MVP grade A star. And frankly, if you want to get me knee deep in the weeds here, I don't think you can win a championship with him as your 1A.
Okay, Becky Hammond. I see. Well, over the last final 10 or so games of the season, Brunson was averaging 35 points per game. He has consistently proven everyone wrong for every time someone has said he's not a 1A player. He's had a rough first round, and I made a video last night just reacting to the absolute pandemonium that finished in game 2. You have to give credit where credit's due. Brunson's not just playing poorly. He's facing a really good defensive scheme. Shout out Nick Nurse. He's doing things right. Fans are pissed at Brunson, and they shouldn't be, because he's not doing that much wrong. He's not letting the game come to him, in my opinion. But also, I apologize, Kelly Oubre. I was not with your game. I knew he was a good defender.
He's a dog.
I didn't know he was that. This has been stunning to me to see Kelly Oubre just really be this good at defense. But Jaylen Brunson can be a 1A. I think it's pretty hard to make an argument that he's not a top 10 player. And obviously that's not the benchmark for being the best player on a championship team. But if people are going to treat Jason Tatum as the fact that he could be the best player on the championship team, then you have to treat Brunson the same way, because Jaylen Brunson and Jason Tatum basically are on the same level at this point. I'd say Brunson more clutch for sure. And when you look at it, yeah, Joel Embiid, definitely the best player in the series. There's a margin. But Jaylen Brunson should be an all-star starter. He should have been.
Yeah.
Like Joel Embiid, he should have been an all-star starter. But Joel started, or he was injured.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah, but obviously best player in the Eastern Conference. You're not going to get a debate from me there, especially as a Joel Embiid fan secretly once the series ends.
Respect.
But no, absolutely not is Jaylen Brunson on the same level as Tyrese Maxey. He is far and away the better player. I'll give it to Maxey, good defender. People don't give him enough credit on that end of the ball. But no, Jaylen Brunson's a superstar. He's proven to everyone that he's an NBA superstar at this point.
I don't hate the Tatum takes here, but I have similar complaints about both their games. That I think with both of them, Tatum, it's more so from beyond the arc. Brunson, it's more so from the mid-range. But you live and die with such tough contested shots at times that I just don't think that's like sustainable, efficient offense. And I'm not arguing that Brunson is a bad player by any means. He's one of my favorite players to just watch for sure. But I do think that he has climbed his way into some heavier arguments than he probably deserves with his play to this point. Again, very good, and he has become the face of that Knicks team, but I still think that there's limitations when we talk about the playoff setting, and I think we're seeing that in full display here. But nonetheless, it is still 2-0 in the Knicks' favor here, and I do want to get your full thoughts on how things went down there, because Sixers fans are rightfully griping. We have still yet to see the L2M report at this point in time. We know that the Sixers filing a grievance, and I will hand up here, I do think it's a little bit of loser stuff to be filing the grievance, causing a hissy fit. I do think they have a rightful gripe, and there's a lot of stuff you can nitpick here, but I just kind of approach it to the mindset of like, what's the benefit here? Like maybe, raise a stink and got a little bit of a change whistle moving forward, but the damage is done. They're not going to line you up with 30 seconds on the clock and have you finish out that game all over again. So I hate that it all went down. I do think that there's a ton of garbage. You have to call the timeout there when Nick Nurse gives it. And frankly, I have not seen enough blame for Kyle Lowry here, because from my mind, Kyle Lowry, dude, that's on you. You're the veteran champion point guard. You're the guy making the inbounds pass, the guy trusted to make those types of decisions. Call the timeout yourself, dude. Don't throw that to Maxey, which isn't a clear pass. It was a bad decision there. But overall, wild sequence of events there. What did you think of the ending?
Okay, so obviously I'm a Knicks fan. I was screaming, and I actually, when Dante DiVincenzo hit that second three, I got up off my couch and started running to, I don't know where. I live in an apartment. It's not that big, so I don't know where I could have ran to. Instantly slipped. Instantly. The second I got up. It was
Karma.
like I fell on a banana, and I just was like, nope, I'm okay. But in all seriousness, yeah, I think that filing that gripe makes no sense. It just doesn't. Like, maybe it'll somehow change the way that the calls get made for Philadelphia, or you're just going to upset the refs more or something. I don't understand why there wasn't an instant timeout after that first three went down.
Yeah.
You're up by 2 points. Why are you inbounding the ball where if there's a steal, there's a very likely chance at either a game-tying shot or a shot that takes the lead, which is exactly what happened? I think that's completely on Kyle Lowry. Nick Nurse was saying, like, oh, I call a timeout, and the refs look. You have to, if you're Nick Nurse, you have to look at the way that Tom Thibodeau calls timeouts. Tibbs essentially runs towards the referee and screams it. You can't just go like this and expect the refs to be staring you down when the most pivotal possession of the game is about to go down. They're watching the players because that's what they're taught to do. The coaches have to gain their attention. Tibbs runs up and screams for those timeouts. Nick Nurse should have done that. I don't want to say it's his fault for not doing that, but he should have done that. If you're blaming someone, it's on Kyle Lowry. I don't know why he threw that pass. They mentioned it on NBA on TNT after, as I stuck around to watch the Lakers game as a LeBron fan, so that was horrific. But they said it on NBA on TNT. Like Shaq said, one of the main rules is not to run towards the baseline in a situation like that. Maxey turns directions, runs to the baseline, and yeah, part of that blame can go on him, but it's on Lowry for throwing that pass. He should have called a timeout. If the 76ers want to blame someone, you have to look internally first because Kyle Lowry completely made an unforced error that costed them the game.
And the bigger issue here is if you get a rebound, we're not talking about any of this. That was
Absolutely
the root of everything there, and we've seen these issues. The 23 offensive rebounds in the first game, that was a clear adjustment in the second, that they were clearly zeroed in on that. But then at the biggest moment, it let you down again, and that is a weakness on this team. And this was something that we knew that this Knicks team was going to exploit going in. So super frustrating that it showed up the worst time. But I do agree with you on the Nick Nurse side of things as well, that you just got to be more aggressive, more clear about it there. And I did hear out his explanation after the game that he said the plan A, option A, would be to get the ball in quick and, get the foul like it is right there. And then, but the second that you did not see that happening, that's when you absolutely have to track down the official if you have to, sprint out in the court if you need to. And that just did not happen. So definitely frustrating there. Definitely a tough one to pick yourself off the mat up, but I fully expect the Sixers team to do it. So before we wrap things up here, I'm locking it in once again. I think the Sixers come back and win the series. Think they take 2 in Philly. Think they squeak one out in New York in Game 5 and then clean things up in front of the home fans once again. We send you guys home packing, and then you're keeping your paws off Joel Embiid this summer.
Okay, well, I will say I like Joel Embiid, but do I want that career 44% from the field in playoffs?
The guy that gave you 34, 11, and 6 last night, you don't want?
Took 29 shots to get there, didn't it? And took that with him. Took that one home. Philly's going to take one in home also. And I'm excited. I'm not saying that it's going to get taken over by Knicks fans, but Wells Fargo is pretty close. Knicks fans are the most well-traveled fans in the NBA.
No chance.
If that Brunson MVP chant breaks out in Wells Fargo.
No chance.
I'm saying that because I know the Sixers Digest people. They already hate me. I need to hammer it in. But yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited to see where this series goes because we were saying it offline before we started. This is a very close series. Like, this is not a 2-0 where it's like, okay, there's no chance Philly comes back. Like, as a Knicks fan, I'm not just like kicking my feet up like, all right, let's get this one over with. Let's go on. Let's face Milwaukee or Atlanta, Indiana. No, like the 76ers still have the reigning MVP on that team. Yes, he's hurt, but he's not destroyed. He's clearly good enough to still be Joel Embiid. And when you don't have the best player in a series, when you're playing against a team that has 2 All-Stars, with Randle being out, the Knicks have 1, you have to still be concerned. The Knicks have done an excellent job at not letting the role players beat them, and Maxey and Embiid are going to keep going off. At some point, that I find it impossible to believe that the Knicks can win both in Philly when Maxey and Embiid are going to get carried by that crowd through it. Also, I think Philly's going to win one in Philadelphia. They could easily win both, though obviously I'm biased, but I think the Knicks get this done. There's not going to be any need for a Game 7. I could see it going to 6, but the Knicks, right now, they're winning the coaching battle also.
I unfortunately agree with that, and that sucks to admit because that's one of my driving forces of optimism. That I've been a Nick Nurse guy. He's still by far the best coach in the Joel Embiid era. He still coaches Miles around Doc Rivers and even Brett Brown for sure. But he's got to step up. There's got to be an answer. There's got to be more adjustment. I want to see the Paul Reed and Joel Embiid lineups just to help out on that rebounding battle. But we'll see. So, Chris, I appreciate you hopping on. And final note before I just get out of here is Villanova officially no longer a Philly school whatsoever. I know it is the debate. You got to take it away for at least this series. So absolutely the call there. But appreciate all you guys tuning in on both channels. Make sure you show Chris some love. Check out the pain that the Sixers will be inflicting in the next couple games to him on that channel. And for those of you over on Knicks Digest, come see what I have to say on this side as well. Make sure you're showing some love, subscribing on each. I'll be back with you guys throughout the rest of the series.
Facts.